Start with some introductions. I'm Ria Huerta, the mental health liaison with WACSEP.
I'm Vivian Rodriguez-Eads. I'm a program lead with WACSEP.
Hello, everyone. I'm Edgar Roscoe, and I'm the school psychologist intern working at WACSEP.
And just a couple of Zoom etiquettes. So you can switch, Edgar. All participants' microphones are muted except for ours, and cameras are turned off. And as we noted, this is being recorded. If you have any questions, please take a minute to put them into the question section, and we will be reviewing those and responding to them at a later time. Go ahead. And then WACSEP, that's our SELPA. We work in conjunction with your school district to provide a continuum of services and placements, staff and parent education, interagency collaboration, and administrative support to ensure high quality, individualized, free, and appropriate public education for individuals with disabilities, although our parent series is open to all. And just a disclaimer, the information presented, this is just a very brief introduction of evidence-based practices. There is a list of resources that we will include at the end of our presentation, and we're going to be going over some resources during the presentation. Please feel free to contact us or reach out to your own school district regarding any additional questions that you might have that are specific to your child. And just briefly, COVID-19, we are all in the midst of the pandemic and doing the best that we can to maneuver through the newness and the constant changes that are happening, including distance learning, disruption of familiar routines and activities, as well as schedules, and the impact that it's had not only on each child in a different way, but families as well. So the concepts that we'll be using of the evidence-based strategies to discuss today are hopefully going to be beneficial to support you in supporting your child at home. Always consider your child's unique needs prior to implementation. And today's topic is self-regulation. It starts with me. So what we'll be going over are just some brief regulation techniques, including mindfulness, the 5 senses exercises, coloring, deep breathing, and yoga moves. So stress, we all have it, right? A little bit of stress can sometimes help us stay alert and focused better. So some of us, appreciate a little bit of stress, but too much stress can be harmful, and it can impact our emotions, our thoughts, and our behaviors. It can make us feel anxious, restless, angry, sad, which then makes us think that when we're stressed, that we struggle to find positive or problem-solving strategies. And then that creates additional frustration. It can make us feel angry. We may be reactive, get verbally and physically aggressive, and we become dysregulated. Next. And so dysregulation is the experience of being physiologically out of control with an inability to calm down. And everybody has moments of dysregulation. We all have our moments of not being 100%, including our kids. So this is not anything that is abnormal. We all have moments of dysregulation. Next. So some of the questions that we've received are, how do you control worry, stress, anxiety, feeling overwhelmed emotionally and physically? And what steps can we take to help our child self-regulate? As well as what are some tips to help me be more patient when I become frustrated? And our goal and our hope is that when we're talking about all of the strategies and going over our webinar, that these questions will be answered. But if you have further questions, as we noted, feel free to put them in the Q&A. So what we don't say, a significant proportion of our interactions with people are nonverbal, and that includes like our facial expressions, our tone and our volume, as well as our body posture, movement, and the instant appraisal of another's facial expression. So let's think about the fact that when we're seeing somebody, we're not just listening to what they're saying, we're listening to their tone, we're considering their volume, we're looking at their facial expressions and even their stance. And that is something that we need to be aware of when others are speaking to us, but also what are we communicating non-verbally? Next. So one of the greatest lessons I've learned in my work is the importance of simply taking the time before doing anything else to pay attention and listen. And that's Dr. Bruce D. Perry. So we want to make sure that we are attending to ourselves first.
Okay. Well, we want to think about regulation as a process. So we have this pyramid here, and it's a process that is interactive, and it starts with the caregivers. So got to start with yourself first. And so first the parent needs to be regulated, then we go to co-regulation, and then we go to child regulation. Go to the next slide. Okay. So you want to make your redirections more effective, you want to connect before you correct. So through connection, through the relationship, you're able to help your child become more regulated. And then once you get that going, then you can get into the reasoning and reflecting on whatever the situation may be. And go to the next slide. Okay, so there's 3 R's for reaching the learning brain. So if we think about the brain, there's different parts of it. And we want to get to the front part of the brain so that we can reason and kind of address the situation with your child. So if you head straight to the reasoning part without a student being or a child being regulated, it's going to be difficult. So what we first need to do is really work on that bottom of the pyramid is regulate, connect, and relate, and then you can get to the reasoning portion. All right, so regulating your emotional state can help your child regulate herself. So we want to think that you're always modeling, you're always teaching through your own reactions to a situation, and that's how your child will learn how to self-regulate. It's just caregivers, it could be you, could be other caregivers, and it's just the way that you're responding to a situation. And also you want to have an environment that's predictable, responsive, and supportive, and supports self-regulation. Go to the next slide. Okay, so we want to think about how, our relationship with our child and how their mood and your mood impacts each other. So it's what you do impacts me and vice versa. So the moods and actions of those around us are contagious. So you think about if you're, feeling very calm, your child is more than likely to kind of pick up on that. And especially if you're in a group and someone is a perceived leader. If the leader is calm, then the rest of the people in the group are more than likely to feel that and kind of catch on to that. So helping adults can't teach children to regulate their emotions. This is from Dr. Bruce Perry. And behaviors unless they themselves are emotionally calm and reasonable and well-regulated state. So we really want to work on having that be your first move, is being regulated, in order to get that for your child. Okay.
So some of the things that we could do, or you could ask yourself, well, what can I do? So beginning with the first contact, it's important that we establish a helping alliance. And we do this by making sure that we're safe, the person or the child sees that they are in a safe environment, that we are strong, that we're calm ourselves. When someone sees that we're calm, they're more likely to approach the situation in a calm manner. And you also want to understand and know the situation that you're currently in. Which brings up to our next point of the slogan on putting your oxygen mask on first. If you run out of oxygen yourself, you can't help anyone else with their own oxygen mask. So if you're in a state of, let's say, frustration from a different point of view or different environment, and you're coming in and trying to help someone, it's not going to work. It's not going to be ineffective. So you really want to come in understanding where you're currently at the moment in order to help the other person. With self-regulation, it starts with me. The most essential intervention to help students is self-regulating to find a place within ourselves in which we interact with them. So you want to make sure that you're able to self-reflect the situation, understand where you're coming from, notice your own level of arousal and emotional state. You want to observe our thoughts and actions because they will impact the other person that you're trying to help. So self-regulation makes it possible for us to know and manage our own emotions. So we want to recognize that our emotions will impact the other person, and it does hinder relationships if we're not able to self-regulate ourselves. So we want to be able to identify our current state and understand what is currently happening before we're able to help the other person in order for that relationship to be fully functional. So, and how do we begin? A natural beginning for the development of mindfulness is making it a daily practice, paying close attention to regular activities such as breathing. You want to be patient. Mindfulness exercise does require a lot of practice. It's going to take, quite some time. You're not going to be an expert right when you first start. But you also do need to show appreciation when you and someone else or your child are currently practicing. They want to see that you believe in it in order for them to believe in it. As mentioned before, it does take practice, and you have to make it an actual effort to want to do it and make it look like you are appreciating it when you do it. So some of the techniques, I've discussed mindfulness. We will discuss 5 senses exercise within the next couple slides. Another one is coloring. If coloring is something that, does calm someone down or it takes them off a certain situation, that's a great way to do it. Deep breathing, we all do it from time to time, but it's often good to set a reminder to the other person to take a deep breath, and yoga moves. But do understand that some different yoga moves might not be for everyone, so just be cautious when doing so. So even though mindfulness and mindful meditation does originate from a tradition of Buddhism, it has been practiced in different cultures and different traditions. And it's really what you make out of it. So it's really just about the attention and being aware. Anything that arises from paying attention and the purpose of just being within that moment, not being judgmental, just taking it as a core universal.
All right.
And who can use mindfulness? Kids ages 5 and up who want to calm the churning thoughts in their heads, learn to feel and understand the emotions and improve their concentration. It's suitable for children diagnosed with ADHD, dyslexia, and those that are on the spectrum of autism. When we're mindful, we're more regulated and regulating. So not only are we calmer, but we help to make others calm as well, as we've been discussing. And developing the ability to step back mentally and be a witness to our somatic experiences makes it possible for one to know when we are dysregulated. So it can be used by children as young as 5 years old. In fact, we actually are supporting some schools in TK classrooms with 4-year-olds in mindfulness activities, and they have been successful in implementing and practicing. The key is to practice as often as you can when you are calm. So that way you have that muscle memory when you are dysregulated or upset or frustrated or anxious, that you can go to that familiar exercise because you've been practicing it when you're calm. So then you're able to prompt yourself and remind yourself of that strategy.
Okay, and the next thing we're going to talk about is the 5 senses exercise. So this is a form of practicing mindfulness that's quick, and you can use it in nearly any situation. All you really need to do is to notice, and the objective of this is to be present as much as possible. So you want to notice something that you're experiencing with each of the 5 senses, and it should be quick and relatively easy exercise to bring you to a mindful state, and you follow the order as the practice suggests. So we can go to the next slide.
And if I may interject, this was one of your handouts. So if you had a chance to print it out, you might want to reference it. And if not, then you still have it as a handout after today's webinar.
Because this could be like a visual you have in the kitchen. So the goal is where you will learn how to do this on your own, and then you can teach your child to do the same thing. So we're going to do an activity. Go to the next slide. All right. So we're going to do activity about the 5 senses. So the first thing is you want to notice 5 things you can see, and you want to pick something you normally don't notice in your environment. So it could be, for instance, and I'm just going to kind of talk through it and you do the activity as I'm talking. It could be that you're noticing the hum of the refrigerator if you're in the kitchen, or you notice some of the sounds outside. Maybe it's the birds. You know?
Oh, we're on site right now, Vivian. I'm sorry. You're talking about sound?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry.
So something you see, I'm sorry, something you can see. So
Yes.
you want to think about something you see in your environment. So it could have been, it could be a crack on the wall. It could be, a lamp. So just really focusing on a particular item. And then for 4, you want to find 4 things that you can feel or touch to bring awareness to texture. It could be like the fabric on your pants. It could be a breeze. So anything that you can feel. And then 3, you want to think of things that you hear. So listen. So now I can talk about the refrigerator. So the humming of the refrigerator, birds outside, traffic, something you're cooking. If you're washing dishes, kind of listening to the water kind of running. And then 2, you can think of things that you can smell that are pleasant or unpleasant. So it could be, lemon or anything that you can get in your environment. Again, it's just bringing you back to the present. And then the one thing you can do, would be taste. So taste something, so that you can have the sensation of either like chomping on almonds or something like that. So again, the goal is just to bring you back to the present, because sometimes we get pretty caught up in our thoughts in our head, and then that could lead to dysregulation. Okay, the next slide. All right, another activity would be mindful coloring. So coloring is often a calming activity. You can use any coloring books. You want to be present in the moment and use any color you'd like. And you don't need to stay in the lines. You can go outside the lines. It's not important. It's just focusing on the action of coloring. Okay, the next one. And then this one you can do anywhere, anytime. It's just breathe. And I think this is Maria who's going to take this one. Yeah.
Okay. You can talk about breathing.
Oh, okay.
Breathing, as Vivian stated, breathing is a fundamental means. And yes, we are all doing it all the time. We're all doing it right now, right? We're all breathing. It's a biological thing that we do. But what we're going to work on today to help regulate the mind and the body and to help have a reactive impact to our brain is called diaphragmatic breathing. Can you switch the slide, please? And so basically it's belly breath without using the big words. It's belly breath. And when we're doing a belly breath, we're basically focusing our breath. And I'd like everybody to just kind of take a moment. I can't see you all, so I'm going to have the faith that you're all practicing. So just take one of your hands and put it on your belly, and then try and push your hand out, and then bring it back in. So when we're using that type of breathing, diaphragmatic, which is very different than the chest breath. The chest breath is when people start to panic and are breathing really quickly from like, and that can cause us to hyperventilate, which we don't want to do. So when we're doing the diaphragmatic breathing, the belly breath, it's as simple as that is. Try and push your belly out and then bring your belly in. And this helps to lower blood pressure and pulse rate and respiration. It cleanses lactate from the blood, which the lactate is what causes an increase in feelings of anxiety. It increases our ability to calm and to be alert in terms of our brain waves. And it really releases the feel-good transmitters. So actually 95% of the feel-good serotonin is in our stomach lining. So in using that belly breath for 20 to 30 seconds, we're basically causing those good neurotransmitters to activate, and that's why we feel calmer. Next one, please. So a really quick point of reference that might help you in terms of the breath is smell the flowers, blow out the candles. This could be a prompt that you can use for yourself, that you can use with your child, because this is really in a very basic way reminding them of the way that we want them to breathe. When we're smelling the flowers, we're taking that deep breath. So let's all take a moment and smell the flowers. So we're going to take a breath through our nose. And then we can pause at the top, and then let's take a moment to blow out the candles. So I hope that quick little interjection there helped even to help you feel better in the moment. Next, please. Here's a little exercise that you can use. This is another handout that you were given. I don't have mine with me, but you can even draw, and I'm not sure if you can see me here. You can actually draw a figure 8. And basically the key here is just to run your finger across the figure 8 times. So you can start at the star, and it prompts you. You can follow the arrow where it says inhale, and then at this point we would take an inhale. Hold it all the way until you get to the star, and then when you get to the star, you exhale. And then you're exhaling all the way until you get to the star, and then you inhale again. And then you exhale when you get to the star. And so you can do this as slowly or as quickly as you feel that you're capable of doing. As your practice in belly breath starts to become stronger, you'll start to realize that your inhale can be a little bit longer and your exhale can be a little bit longer. And that in itself is a calming technique. Next, please. If you don't like figure 8s, that's okay. Oh, look at that's a prompt. It's a bell. And so let's all take a breath. Let's smell the flowers. And let's blow out the candles. I have that on throughout my day, and I have to tell you, it makes such a huge difference. You might want to give yourself a reminder like that. But going back to the breathing board, if you don't like the figure 8, it's okay. You can use a triangle, you can use a star, you can use a square. You can use this with your children. You can do it together. If you don't have something with you, you could take a piece of paper out and just draw a triangle. You could just draw a figure 8 and then just have them trace it with their finger. The idea is to have them focus on something else and get that breath in so that they're focused and attentive. And that's the part of the mindfulness technique that we've been talking about. Next one, please. So here's another activity that you can try at your leisure. It's a 1-minute mindfulness, and you also have this as a handout. It should take 1 minute. Everybody has 1 minute to take a moment. We won't do it today as an interest of time, but there are the specific steps. We did talk about the importance of inhaling and exhaling and the importance of the deep breath and why we want to use those specific breaths, as well as the 5 sentences, and being attentive and mindful to other things. Next, please. Edgar, I think this is you.
Yeah. So in regard to yoga moves, it's really just practicing deep mindfulness and also just being aware of your breathing, making sure that you're combining our physical state and as well as internal with breathing and relaxation. It will help reduce the stress, lower blood pressure and heart rate. There have been various studies that show that yoga does stabilize emotions and increase self-compassion and self-regulation. As Maria mentioned earlier, just taking that 1 minute really can make a difference and within any situation or just as a daily practice. So here are some 6 restorative yoga poses that we're able to do. Also just be aware of your surrounding. If you're not able to, do this within a certain environment, there's always a wall. Just using your environments, a simple, chair, laying on the floor, doing the corpse pose, child's pose, but again, just being aware of your capability. And you really want to take a moment for yourself. You are going to understand yourself better than anyone else. So just spending time every day on different activities can be anything from sitting quietly for 5 to 10 minutes, meditating, practicing your breathing. If listening to music, uplifting is something that would put you in a better mood, then you should definitely do that. Reading a different book from different topics, ones that you know will motivate you to do something. Creating a gratitude list. I know that's something that a lot of people tend to do during the holidays, or just taking a walk outside and engaging in a hobby, one that you're familiar with or one that you want to take a new interest in.
So thank you. One of the parents shared via the chat that Headspace is actually, it's an app and they're offering free services right now. And that actually has different resources like mindfulness and different activities. But some of you also asked about any resources that you might be able to use with your children. And so here at positivepsychology.com, this specific URL address has about 18 different activities that you can use with your toddlers, with kindergartners, with basically kids of all ages. You can use it at your own discretion, and it's a very nice go-to if you're looking for something that you would like to use at your discretion. In the next one, please. And here are some other resources that we thought that you might appreciate. Again, you can use this at your own discretion. So it's not all going to work for you. It's not all going to be something that you necessarily like, but you pick your own. And that's the beauty of it. So there's different resources that you can look at, that you can use for yourself, that you can use with your children, that you can help to work with your children. And as you can see, Headspace is one of them that we also refer to. Here are additional resources that you can also consider. Sitting Still Like a Frog is a small little book, and it's actually a book for the person that's teaching small children how to do mindfulness. And it's basically using a frog. It comes with a little CD. This is kind of what we use with the TK students, and we extrapolate, we pull out certain things that we feel are going to be beneficial for them and that they can understand. But these are all great resources if you choose to, at your discretion, obtain them. And we want to thank you for taking the time to join us. I know that this is a very busy time. We're all overwhelmed. We're all over Zoom. But it's really important, as we stated, we need to put our oxygen mask on first before we can help anybody else. And we're hoping that these very brief exercises that we went over today and shared with you today will help you put your oxygen mask on first. Edgar and Vivian, is there anything else that you'd like to share?
I think what Maria's saying, do kind of really practice these strategies like all the time, not when you're feeling stressed, but just all the time, so that when you do need it, you've already A, tried it and figured out which ones work for you, and then B, your child has seen you do it. And so then you can start to go, hey, let's try this together. So I think use the visuals that she has in those handouts that you can put up in the kitchen in different places, and try these out when you're calm, so that it'll be easier to access when you really need it.
Thank you, Vivian. And as Edgar said, if you do it every morning, it's okay to wake up and have a morning, hey, let's do a morning figure 8, or a morning breath, or a morning smell the flowers and blow out the candles. And again, then you start to have that muscle memory. Mm-hmm. Edgar, did you have anything else to add?
I don't think he heard what you just said.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'd like to thank you again. There's going to be a pop-up survey. We would very much appreciate it if you would take the time to complete that. and have a good rest of the day, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.